What's up, YouTube? George, a silver hunter, back after a much-needed week-long vacation. I was down in Fort Lauderdale soaking up some sun at the beach with the family and having a good old time, and we put coin roll hunting and silver stacking on the back burner for a week, and it was actually quite glorious. So, now that I am back, I was able to run around to a few banks this morning, and I was able to pick up this. Most of the banks I went into either did not have coin or would not give me coin. So I was able to pick up $145 worth of stuff from a Wells Fargo, and there was a gentleman in line at one of the banks turning in $720 worth of his own wrapped quarters that he's been collecting over the years, and I just bought 10 of his rolls, hoping to get lucky. And we got one little surprise here from a Truist branch that I've never been in before. So let's jump into this. Let's see what we can find. So to start with, and this is the thing that was most exciting, and I started my morning off, I went into, like I said, a Truist bank that I had never been in before, asked the tellers if they had any half dollars. They said they had 5, and when they dumped it in the bank, I could hear it, and maybe you just heard it right then. But after I got them, I went through them, and I did end up with a 1967 40% silver, and I'll turn it this way so you can see it. I was so very excited to see that giant white line. You guessed it, we have a 90%er in this $5 worth of halves. It is a 1964 Philadelphia. There is no mint mark on the back. So super excited to get a 90% half and a 40% half and 10 half dollars. Outside of that, of all the other banks that I went in, no one else had any half dollars behind the register. Well, one bank had 2. And I just inspected them and they were clad. No one else had rolls of halves to give me or anything behind the counter. So with that said, we're already about 14 or 15, maybe 16 bucks up in silver. So we're going to get into these rolls now. And I'm going to do them probably, actually I know I'm going to do them in this order. We're going to do dimes first, which we're going to edge hunt for silver. I'm not going to look at every dime. We'll move on to the nickels, which we will inspect. And I do have a nickel book that we're filling, and I will, if we find anything there, I will bring you in and show you where we're either upgrading that book or filling. We'll then move on to the quarters, because they're going to be the next easiest to do and I have the most of. We'll be hunting all kinds of varieties in here and hopefully finding some silver and some customer wrapped rolls. And then we'll end with the pennies. For all of this stuff, I do have a document in the description down below this video where you can follow along with me and see the specific years and mint marks and dates that I'm looking for when I coin roll hunt. And of course, I will bring you into a deep dive if we find anything special. So with that said, let's clear this stuff off and start with these dimes. So I'm going to go ahead and unroll all of these dimes on camera, and we will do some editing if we find nothing and move right into the nickels. But just in case we get lucky and find some silver, I want to see you guys. I want you guys to see it live with me. And I absolutely stink at getting dimes out of a roll. So we're going to make a little bit of a mess and look at them one sort of batch at a time. And we are looking for that same silvery looking edge that we saw on the half dollars. Come on. There we go. I do see some newer, probably 2020 or 2021 dimes in there. And hopefully I can get these out a little better. They were just stuck in that last roll. They wouldn't come out. So 2015. And nothing there. Let's do this first roll of nickels together, and then I'll go off camera and hunt the rest and bring you guys in. As I said, I'm doing a nickel book fill, and after I get this first one out, we'll look to see if there's any silver. I'll grab the book and see what particular dates we are looking for, but I can tell you that they're the early ones. They're the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Pretty much all the later years from the mid-60s up to today, we've got everything. So with that said, I guess we'll just run through these really quickly. I don't expect to find too many book fillers at this point unless we find some really, really old nickels. So that's why I'm not bringing the book in right now. We did find a foreign. Look at that. First roll, we have a 2003 Canadian nickel. I guess we'll put that up as a find. It's a foreign. It's a 61. With such few nickels, you actually have to be pretty darn lucky to get a great deal of finds. If you watch many coin roll hunts online, you'll see people do sometimes entire boxes and really only find have a handful of finds. And that is, with a lot more rolls than I'm going through today. This is just 5 rolls. So if we find anything spectacular, it's because we got really, really lucky and just happened to get the right 5 rolls from the teller. But these are all 80s through 2000s. All right, well, I'll do these 4 off camera, and I will bring you in if we find anything interesting or if it's a book filler. So I was dumping out my 4th roll, and look right here. We've got a buffalo. Let's see if we got a date on it. All right, it looks dateless. Let me put it under the scope. Well, it even looks like somebody tried to nick-a-date it and failed, or this just has some like gum or something on it. I may try to re-nick-a-date this, or first time nick-a-date it. Clean this thing up. It does have a mint mark on the back. It is an S mint mark, and I'll put a picture of it under the scope for you. I'm curious what that is, but that's a buffalo. It's our second find of these 4 little rolls, or 5 little rolls. Pretty cool. I'll keep hunting and bring you in when we find something else. So I should have just left the camera run. I was stacking these things up so I could start going through them, and I saw this fall out. I kid you not, we now have a 1982 San Francisco proof nickel. I think this is my first ever proof nickel, and it is actually in fantastic shape for being in circulation. That is really, really cool. I'm going to definitely flip that up because that's just a really, really nice nickel. All right, well, you know what? Let's just go through these on camera. Who knows what else is in this thing? That's pretty cool. I don't know how you re-roll nickels and not see that, because these look to be hand wrapped. So somebody picked that up, looked at it, and went, that's really shiny, and stuffed it in a wrapper. Or I guess they maybe have one of those machines like I've shown off on the channel where it will wrap coins for you. It's a 2005P. That looks like it might have come out of a mint set. I mean, this looks fairly uncirculated. Let's see, is that a 5 or a 3? So I wanted to bring you guys in on this 2003 Philadelphia. I looked on Variety Vista. I do not see there being a double die obverse on this particular coin. But when I look at it, I clearly see the outline of additional digits here. And this 2 very much looks like I've got a 2 here and a 2 here. So I clearly see 2 2s there. I see the lip of another 0. Here you can kind of see a 0 on the inside and a 0 up here. And this 3 just looks a little bit spread. And the P also looks like I've got some doubling on it. I suppose it could be machine doubling. When I get over here to the word Liberty, you can see clearly on this R here and this T, we've got a little bit of, I don't know if that's smearing or spreading. This could just be machine doubling, but I would love to know from you guys in the comments down below if you know more than I do. What do you think I have here? To me, this looks clearly like some like a DDO to some degree, at least on this 2003, the numbers there. While I have you in here, I figured I would show you this buffalo. There's the date area. We have no date. I don't think it's been nickel-dated before. I think that's just some dirt and grime on there. But we do have the S mint mark. Let me see if I can get it under here. Sorry guys, it's hard to film this and move under the scope at the same time. But there's my S mint mark. And this proof, just to show you a little bit of it, is just gorgeous. Here it is, that 82S proof. You know, we've got some damage in the fields, but you can see it still has a clearly mirror-like finish. It is a beautiful, beautiful nickel. And look at those steps. Beautiful steps on this thing. So really, really nice coin. All right, well, I'm going to get back to the rest of these nickels, and I will bring you in if we find anything else. So going through this last roll, I came across my first 40s nickel, and I checked my book. I do need a 1947S. Now, this one's not in great shape, but let's check it out together. Did we get there? Nope, it is a Philadelphia, so no mint mark, and I already have a 47, and it looks better than this one. Sorry, we went off camera there a little bit. But I'll put it up here as a find because it is a 40s era or a 40s nickel. A lot of this roll has been moderns, so in your 20 teens. Here's a 1970. Looks like a D. Checking that for a repunched mint mark, and no. 1697, 85. Here's a buffalo. Do we have a wounded buffalo? We do not. Another buffalo. Okay, well that does it for the nickels. So here we are on our quarters. We have 20 rolls of quarters. There is so much to find in quarters. Obviously 1964 and earlier will be silver. The state quarters have a ton of errors that I'll be looking through, and if I find any, we'll do a deep dive on them. There are also W quarters, so 2019, 2020, there were some West Point mint marked quarters. Those are going on eBay from anywhere from about $10 to about $30, so we'll be on the lookout for those. And as I said before, there is a document in the description down below that shows everything that I look for. So feel free to grab that document. It's absolutely free. And as I said, I will be pulling coins and we'll look at them under the scope together if I find any errors on these quarters. So with that said, there's no silver in this one, so I'm going to start going through these rolls and I will pull you in when I find something interesting. Bringing you in really quickly here. I think I'm on roll 5 or 6 of this batch. And I did have my first find here, which was a pretty decent looking bicentennial. I hang on to rolls of these and sell them on eBay. So this is a Philadelphia. But so far it's been pretty uneventful in these quarters. So we have 7 rolls left, including this one, and we finally got stung by the dreaded short roll with a nickel hiding in there. And it's not even a good nickel. It's a 1996. Along the way, we have found a couple more bicentennials, but other than that, it's been a really, really quiet roll of quarters. I've been looking at literally just about anything I can put under the scope and just haven't found anything of interest. That's another Philly. No W's today. Not even a 6th Claw Alaska, which normally those things you find, I mean, every single one of them is a 6th Claw, it feels like. Here's the bat quarter, but it's a Philly. Another bat quarter, and it is a Philly. So that is the end of the quarters, and I've got a big bunch. I got to rewrap those. But we got shorted a quarter, and we ended up with 4 bicentennials, and that was it for all of that hunting. So what we have left is 10 rolls of pennies. I did weigh the pennies before I brought them down here to film, and I know that I'm going to have a decent amount of copper. I've got a lot of rolls that are 135 grams or more, so there's going to be a good bit of copper in there. Will be interesting to see if we have any Wheaties. So I'm going to clean up these quarters. Let me go ahead and get these pennies up here. And we are going to dive into these last 10 rolls of pennies and then do a wrap up. So let's get into these pennies. And you know what? I'm going to, just to show you guys what I was talking about a second ago. If you weigh a roll of pennies, it's in the document in the description down below. You can get an idea of just how many coppers you're going to have in a roll just by the weight, because a zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams, I think, and a copper penny weighs 3.1 grams. So at 134.2 grams, I think that means we're going to have something like, it's like 10 or 11, maybe 12 coppers in it. So let's get this roll open together and let's see how many we actually have in here. I actually just checked. At 134.1 grams, we should have around 13 coppers in there, or we might have an extra penny, so or two. That's how we're going to get into all that extra weight. Apologies. As usual, these things won't come out that well. I see a lot of coppery edges in here, so let's just go through these together. I'm not going to do it this way for every roll because it'll take us forever to get through that many rolls at once here. I can't hardly see that date. What is that? That is an 88D. So here we have a 1977 in darn good shape. I'll put my coppers up there. 2014. It's a 1981D. That's copper. Can't see the date on that. That's a 2001. That's an 07 that looked like a copper. 2019, 2020. There is a, that looks to be a 75D. Yep. It's an 88D. So I have my scope off here to the side. The other way to do this, as I said, is a zinc penny weighs 3.1 grams, or I'm sorry, 2.5 grams. A copper one weighs 3.1. So you can actually just put a penny down, face down on a scale and tell whether it's going to be copper or not. I will be looking for some of the more common varieties in these pennies as I go through them. This 2000 could have a wide AM. I'm sorry, yeah, wide AM. It's not there. That's a 17, a 2020. All right, there's a 1981. It's a 91. I hope we find some Wheaties. Now there is a 61 in darn good shape. That looks to be like an 83. There's an 81, that's copper. There's an 82. Now 82s you definitely have to weigh because 82s were a split year and they were made in zinc as well as copper. So you should always weigh those. That's a 76. It's a nice 2020D. There's a 73, definitely copper. 1990, 2019, 1979, I think that's a D. Sometimes those Ds, the way they're spread out, they look like S's, so I like to throw them under the scope. That's a 73D, 2000, 83. It's a 1976D. A couple of new ones. It's an 89, 96, 99D, 99D, and one more copper, a 19, looks like 68D. So I think I said we would have about 14 coppers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I was off by 1. So 13 coppers. I said we'd have 14 by weight. I was pretty close. So there we go. All right, well, I'm going to do the same exercise for these remaining 9 rolls. I will bring you in on any varieties, and if we don't find anything, I will definitely give you a summary of copper found at the end. So I'm on the 4th roll, and I've come across my first, I just knocked it over. I've come across my first Wheatie. This was a really, really heavy roll. Let me zoom in here a little bit. This was a really, really heavy roll at over 140 grams, so there's a ton of copper in this roll. This is a 1956 Wheatie. I hadn't actually looked at the date yet. I just saw the reverse. So I've gotten my books out. I'm going to see if we have any fillers. Like on the last roll, we had just this stunner of a 1959. We've got a couple other decent ones in there, but all that's the copper I found from each roll. And if you just look in here, you can see, I mean, I've got tons and tons of copper in here. We might have a few more Wheaties. So I'm going to go through these and we'll do a quick wrap up on this one at over 140 grams. There's a lot of copper. So in that roll, we ended up with 23 copper pennies, and that roll weighed a little over 140 grams. We did have that one wheat penny, and I did have a 1971S in there as well, which I don't think I've got in my book, but we'll check that at the end. So I'm going to pull all these coppers aside, compare them against what I have, and see if we can replace anything or upgrade anything or fill any spots. So we were opening the 6th roll. We got to the very end, and we did come across another Wheatie. We got a 1940. A little worse for wear, but it is another wheat penny. So that's 2 wheat pennies out of 10 rolls. On the next roll, and again, these things are hiding at the end of the rolls, but we have another wheat penny. This time it looks like it's a 1945. Let's see here. My eyes are getting bad. Yep, 1945. That's 3 wheat pennies on the box. Next to the last roll, and we have another Wheatie. This is our oldest Wheatie, I think, of the box. It's a 1955 and actually pretty darn good shape. That is Wheatie number 4 for the box. All right, so we're going to wrap all this up. We finished going through the pennies. This was all of the copper that we kept. It ended up being 377 grams worth of copper, and that includes the wheats. I went back through them all and pulled anything that would be an upgrade or a fill to our books. And I know I didn't show you this before, but in our penny book, we're really, I didn't really pay attention to some of the later dates. But really over here in the 80s, we're missing the 84D. And then we've got a number of the 2009, 10, 11, and 12s, and I probably passed up some of those because I wasn't actively looking for them. I did end up with 2 2009 Ps, but I've already got those in this book, so I left them over here to show you. We did have a couple of Wheatie. We had 2 Wheatie book fillers, which was nice, and we've got a handful of upgrades in this book to go with it. So what did we end up? We're going to upgrade, or we're adding the 55. That's a Wheatie. We're adding the 56 Wheatie. We are adding a 1940 Wheatie, which I don't have that book over here. Hang on. Oh. Where'd I put it? My 40s and earlier book is very, very, very empty. So you'll see this is only the 3rd edition to this book. So I'm kind of excited to start getting some of the earlier Wheaties in this book. We will upgrade the 1965, the 1970, the 1971S. So not a ton of book fillers, but again, it was only 10 rolls of pennies. I had a couple of really nice looking really nice looking coppers. They weren't upgrades. So I'm going to get these popped into the book, and then we'll go back through the other coins because I know I've got some book fillers there as well. So to wrap up the rest of the hunt, we did end up with 4 bicentennial quarters, which, as I said earlier, we sell those by the roll, and I did get stuffed by one 19, what is this? It's a 1996, looks like Denver nickel that was stuffed into that roll of quarters, so I was shorted by about 20 cents there. When we get over to the nickels, we did have a 1982 proof nickel, which is my very first ever proof nickel find. We had that 2003 Philadelphia nickel that's actually in really, really good shape. Maybe even came from a mint set. It has some pretty cool rainbow toning. I did end up nickodating this buffalo, and I'll put a picture up because it's really hard to see the date. But it does look like it's a 1916S and not a replacement or book filler for my Buffalo album. And then I had a 1947, which I also it does not fill my book. I already have one. And we had one foreign, a 2003 Canadian nickel. And I have my nickel book here just to show you guys. So I'm really excited because I'm going to upgrade that 2003P. And in the later years, all I'm missing is the proofs. The proof spots are the only ones that I'm really missing. And I'm going to be able to fill in this 1982 proof spot. So it's going to be my first proof of my Jefferson nickel book. I've been working on this since last year, only filling it with hunt coins I find during my hunts. Like I have tubes and tubes of silver nickels, war nickels, but I refuse to fill a spot with something unless I find it in a hunt. So I still have quite a bit to find from 39 up through kind of the mid 50s, I would say. Maybe late 50s, 58 seems to be the last one. And then everything else I have after that is really just proofs, and I've been looking for upgrades as I go through nickels. So I'm going to pop those in my album. I'll hang on to my buffaloes. I hang on to all my buffaloes. The 47 I'll just put in a cup. I have a whole cup full of 40s and 50s nickels that I have. And the last thing, which was the coolest part, because I didn't have a very big hunt, was this 90% 1964 half dollar worth today with the premiums, probably about $12. And this 1967 40% half worth, I don't know, about $4. So not a bad hunt. I really enjoy going through customer wrap rolls, especially when they produce. Little disappointed in my quarters. Normally we find a lot more stuff in my quarters, but it is what it is. It was 20 rolls, and you know, maybe the guy that I picked up 10 of those rolls from was also a hunter and gone through them. I don't know. And then I just got a bad batch of 10 from the bank. But happy to get silver, cool finds in the nickels, and quite a bit of copper considering we only had 10 rolls of pennies. Well, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed hunting through the coins. I, taken a week off, so it was fun to get back under the lights here and under the scope and take a look at these things. And I thought we had a cool variety of finds today. If you like this video, please do consider heading down below and clicking on that subscribe button, then clicking on that little bell and selecting all so you get notified every time I release a new video. And you guys take care. Oh, while you're down there, yeah, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. I love interacting with all you guys, so leave me a comment, click that like button, all that good stuff. You guys, though, take care, and I will see you in the next one.